We'll get into that.
Yeah,
Let's argue, shall we?
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Let's argue on here.
You're wrong.
Fair enough. All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode. There was a pause between another episode. Did you catch that?
Yeah, I did.
Another episode of New
Wondering
House,
why.
same address, because I don't know how to speak. Welcome back, Eric and Karis,
That's right.
Hey, Justin.
the man and the woman with a plan, Stan. Hello and welcome. Question of the day. What is the color of the sky?
What time of day?
What time of day? Depends on what it's reflecting.
High noon. Okay, now you're getting somewhere.
Okay,
Tell me
so-
more. Tell me more.
Yesterday it was gray, and then after the rain came through, it was blue
Okay. Do
with
you
white
have an answer?
splotches.
With splotches?
Splotches.
White splotches.
I hate to tell you you're wrong, because actually the way that lighting works is that in your eye, it's reflecting different. So it's actually all the colors except blue.
Interesting. For someone who
'Cause
doesn't
you're-
understand what we're fixing to talk about, that's
has
nice
no
to know.
interest.
Or has no
I might be
interest in
wrong.
lighting.
Someone out there correct me. Please correct me in the comments.
probably
But
is wrong.
I learned somewhere in science that, like, when your eye takes in color, if this is gray, it's actually taking in all the colors except for gray. So it's your eye flips it. I don't know. Is that true, Mike?
Michael, do you know?
I don't know.
Someone told me the green leaves aren't green; they're everything but green, because your eye flips it, it reflects it differently.
Here's a bit of advice that I've learned over the years. Never ask a question you don't know the answer to.
I'm semi-confident.
That's good advice when you're interviewing someone.
That's
Maybe
what we're
not in
doing
like,
here.
well, that, yeah.
No,
For this,
I'm not interviewing no one.
yeah, for this episode,
Anyways, thank you for joining us again, viewers, and welcome to the podcast. So today we are going to talk about lighting, not lightning.
Like,
thank you.
Ka-chow.
Thank
Lighting.
you for clarifying, Justin.
Yeah, well, a lot of people have been getting on to me because I don't enunciate very well, and I sound like I'm mumbling, so I'm being very careful.
Okay,
Lighting.
lighting. I love lighting.
The
How
illumination.
long do we have? Because I can talk about lighting for a very long time.
How long? I'm good. Illumination in the home, how it affects your furniture, cabinetry, all sorts of things. We're
Your
gonna talk.
mood.
We're gonna talk about Kevin. I meant Kelvin units.
Lord Kelvin, actually.
Lord Kelvin. Blessed be his name.
Wow. Okay.
Anyhow, let's jump right into it. What's? I have no. Yeah, I'm not educated, so I don't know where to start.
Well,
Lighting is super important.
It is important.
It makes
Why?
it can make the difference between night and day.
You'll never believe this.
You're rubbing off on me, and like now I'm like starting to be corny. Like
There's a difference between the sun and the moon.
What?
No, okay, so I have a question on here. What role does lighting play in enhancing the overall ambiance and aesthetics of a home? Let's talk about the bedroom. Let's talk about what type of lighting would you prefer in your bedroom?
So I will answer this.
Thank you.
Because I don't like much light at all.
Pitch black.
Well, at night, yeah.
Fair enough.
I have to paint my fingernails during the day because if I do it at night, he's like, "Really? You have to keep the light on?"
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
like
get that.
very low, warm light. At night.
Okay.
Overhead lights, they just mess with my eyes. Yeah. they
It's a
do.
good thing that I like the same.
Yeah, so I think it has a really important role to play.
Yeah.
And just, I don't think we associate lighting necessarily with our mood or how we're feeling as much as it actually does have impact.
Oh, really?
Well, if you think
Okay, I'm
about,
interested.
maybe you're having a rough day at work or something, you go outside and it's a beautiful sunny day, just being out in the light and, nature can really affect your mood. And it's the same with if you're trying to work in a space that's so dimly lit you can't really see what you're doing, or
Right.
it can affect your attitude and your mood, honestly.
Fair enough.
I like to change the lighting based on like once we get home from work, I like natural light as I'm like cooking dinner and stuff like that. And as we go into the evening, it's just part of, I guess, our kids are older, but I still have a bedtime routine. Like we turn off the overhead lights, we have more ambient lighting, and we have the lamps and the wall sconces just to keep things. It just makes your body shift into like relax mode, and so it really affects
Interesting.
the way I process things.
Yeah, and really smart people have this figured out and could say more than I could, but it has something to do with, what is it, your circadian rhythm or
Something like that. Mhm.
How your lighting in the home should reflect what is outdoors, because it helps your body, I guess, in rhythm of what's actually going on. So,
Right.
And it's the same way in the morning. I usually use the same lighting in the morning when I'm drinking my coffee, reading or whatever. And then as the day progresses, we use more and more light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Interesting.
that seems like a pretty good segue into light temperature.
It matters.
It does matter. a
How
lot.
is temperature measured in lights, Eric?
Kelvin units?
Thank you. Not Kevin units,
Not
Justin.
Kevin.
Kelvin.
How many Kevins are in this light?
So I have a bit of history
Ah,
for us.
please.
Oh,
Really brief.
You history
Enlighten us.
buff.
So
See what I did there?
I did.
Very good.
Okay. See? Just like Justin.
So light temperature is determined, like I said, by Kelvin units, which was named after Lord Kelvin.
Okay.
He was a Scottish-Irish physicist.
Okay.
His given name is William Thomson.
Well, how did he get
But-
Kelvin?
I don't know. I said it was a brief history lesson.
So we're just going to say we
And
don't know all
uninformative.
that so far.
Look it up. That's what Google's for. There's a lot written about him, so
Okay.
I'm sure you could find it.
Mm.
He was born in 1824. I didn't
Oh.
know that.
Okay. He's old.
Good year.
Yeah,
You would know.
Classic. But what I remember reading, and I don't have all the details here, was he actually
Obviously.
determined,
Obviously.
All right.
Sorry.
Oh.
He determined like what the coldest temperature actually was. Put it on the chart.
Coldest temperature.
Temperature. And because of his studies with temperatures and that sort of thing, he established light temperatures, which is not like in Fahrenheit or Celsius.
Okay.
It was named after him. Kelvin.
Interesting.
Which is
Okay,
not his
so-
name.
So the lower the Kelvin, what color that brings to the human eye? What is it?
The lower the number, the warmer the color is.
Okay.
So when you say warm and
So-
light, that means yellow, right?
Yellow, oranges, reds, like deep, those deep colors. And the higher the number, the more blue the light.
Oh,
More
interesting.
clear.
So like a fire pit, when a fire's rolling,
Yeah.
where's that Kelvin at? Like below 100, 1,000?
So a good benchmark is like your normal warm, soft, warm light bulb is like this. About 2,700 Kelvin
Okay.
units.
Okay.
So a campfire is going to be probably lower than that. Unless it's like a roaring fire, then maybe in the center it's going to be higher. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of variations there. But
Okay.
has nothing to do with the actual temperature of the surface of
Yeah,
whatever it is.
right.
It's the color
The
of
color
the light.
of the light. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
So your daylight, a lot of times your bulbs are called daylight. You have the soft and the daylight.
Mhm.
They're going to be more bluer, more whiter light.
Gotcha.
And a lot of this just depends on personal preference, which ones, what you like and the type of lighting you like at different points of the day can be range from warmer to cooler. I know for me, I like a cooler light in the kitchen, but at night, if I'm going to read or something like that, I prefer a warmer light. It's weird,
Yeah,
but
I
it
get
affects
that.
the way
Yeah.
you kind of process things. And so,
Yeah.
but I try to keep them consistent throughout the house because that bothers me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty particular about lighting.
Yes, you are.
Uh,
Hey, I like it because I'm particular too, and it just means that it all gets fixed.
Yeah. Well, but for me, like early in the morning, late at night, the more indirect, the
Right.
warmer. It helps you in the morning kind of slowly warm up to the day versus if you just turned on full 6,000 Kelvin can lights to your face.
Yeah.
It's not a pleasant experience.
Yeah.
So it's more about growing into the day and also in reverse in the evening.
Interesting. Okay.
This could be affected, or not affected, but you can automate this process.
Yes.
That is becoming more and more popular, where your home is automated to actually change the color of the light temperature throughout the day, so it matches more of what you would find outside. So
Interesting.
with technology and LEDs the way they are,
And the smart home stuff that we all have now.
yeah, that is something that is becoming more and more of a thing.
Our home is not fully smart, but
I don't have a smart device in mine.
you have a watch on, and you're
Oh.
on your phone all the time.
Well, yeah, I guess that is a smart deal. I'm not very smart, so I don't use them smartly.
But I
guess.
also know I don't like to necessarily adjust mine. My preferences have stayed the same, very consistent. Ours have over the years. So I know if I turn on the light today and it turns on the same tomorrow, I'm fine. I don't have
Yeah.
to keep adjusting it.
I would say that comes more into play if you have a lot of ambient lighting, as it's called. It's not direct. Maybe it's in the soffit, like a tray ceiling, or
Yeah, that would be
under-
super cool.
under your cabinets. A lot of people do under cabinet lighting, not only on the uppers but also under the toe kick, so it illuminates the floor
Yeah.
without having to have lights in your face. So those type of systems can become more and more automated, where those light temperature changes during the day.
Right.
And there was something I was going with that somewhere. Oh, so the reason this is important is a lot of your light fixtures these days come adjustable. So
Yeah, I love that.
you can actually, like for your can light fixture, you can actually set the temperature before you install it
Mhm.
of what is your preference.
Right.
So, a lot of people may not fully understand what those numbers mean, and that's a helpful way of doing it.
And yet you say you're not smart and don't have smart devices. They're
It
not
was
very
off.
smart.
It was so
If it
off.
rings in the middle of a podcast.
I'm so sorry, guys. It was off.
That's what I said. Eric's like, no, just user error.
So when it comes to the temperature, you were just talking about the switching of them. I put in all new recessed lighting in my house. What was there before were the big bulbs,
Yeah.
like the huge, and I hated them, hated the way they looked. So I replaced all of them and cut new ones for the recessed lighting. Maybe I should change a couple of mine, but they're all set at 3,500.
Okay.
You can change it if you want to.
How do
Seems
you
like a
feel
lot of
about
work.
that color?
It's fine. I think so everywhere there was one, I replaced one. So there's a space, as soon as you exit my bedroom, it's just like a cove. It's probably not much bigger than this table. It comes out, this is the doorway, and it goes out, and then you're into the living room, the walkway of the front door. There was one right there, and there's 3,500 Kelvin just for this little area. So when I get up in the middle of the night to go get water or something and I turn it on, it's a little abrasive,
Yeah.
I would say, but
You could put a dimmer switch on it.
well, I could do a lot of things, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess with that.
So that's
And
one way to handle light that's fixed, and you can't really climb into the attic and switch it every time. Put it on a dimmer.
Yeah, exactly.
You could, but there's something important you should know about LED lights and dimmers as well.
Oh, you have something.
They don't work.
Do you not remember this?
I don't know what you're saying.
Because it drove you out of your mind until we figured it out.
Yeah.
If you don't use the correct kind of dimmer switch for an LED light, it buzzes.
Eh.
I'm oh
Yeah,
Oh.
just faintly enough where you have
to make someone lose their mind, and we
that's
had to
awesome.
fix ours. Oh, it was not. It was not great.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that drove us crazy until we figured that. We just had, I guess we had used the existing dimmers or something and just put new lights in, and
possibly.
I don't remember
Yeah,
exactly
or
the
I
whole
was
scenario.
cheap and was like, oh, I have a dimmer switch here. That's probably it.
Yeah, that was my next question: is how does a dimmer switch or dimming the lights actually doesn't affect the Kelvin at all? Just affects the, I guess, intensity of the light,
Yeah,
not
like
necessarily the color.
The volume of light that's coming out.
Okay.
Of it, yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't change the color.
Yeah. What are good rooms to put dimmers in? Not a kitchen, probably, right? I mean, it wouldn't make
Some
sense.
people do it.
I like it in the kitchen.
Okay.
Like, if they don't have a way to have ambient light and they only have overhead light, that would be a good way to solve that
Wow.
pretty easily.
Yeah.
I like them in a bedroom. I like them in a living. I like them everywhere, personally. Like there's you can't go wrong because you can always adjust your light. In the first house we lived in, we didn't have ambient lighting on the walls. We had just can lights and a fan, and so having those can lights where we could dim them in the evening, it wasn't as harsh when you came home, and so I liked that a lot. in the
That's-
house
that's
we
what I
have
have
now,
now. Yeah.
we have ambient lighting on the walls. It's wall-mounted sconces and lamps, and so I can adjust those a little bit easier. And we don't have can lights in the living room, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But if I did have can lights, I would still want them on a dimmer.
Yeah,
Anywhere, really.
Your typical house has 4 cans and a fan. That's the way
Yeah.
everybody designs it, and it's not necessarily the best long
In
term.
the
if
living
you-
room?
Every room,
Oh,
it
okay.
seems like. Yeah,
Gotcha.
bedrooms.
My bedrooms only have fans.
Yeah.
Fan light.
Well, it depends on. I mean, if you're in
Yeah, they're
a
smaller room then.
neighborhood, or if you're in more like custom homes or things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So-
But it's more of a, in the design world, you hear that a lot more.
4 cans and a fan.
4 cans and a fan.
Yeah.
Like, that's sufficient. But there's a lot more ways you can enhance the feeling of a space just by adding lights.
Right.
Lamps, easy way to do it.
Yeah, it's real important, especially in kitchens and when we're designing kitchens, that we use the proper type of lighting. I know we talk about this when you're going through a selection process with somebody. Your under cabinet lighting is real important. If you're not going to use under cabinet lighting, then your can lights need to be set at particular measurements, so you're not casting shadows when you're cooking. You are actually like able to use it as task lighting. So there's a lot that goes into a lighting plan, where you place your switches and how they look and things like that. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot to think about with lighting.
And most people, it's kind of an education thing. If they aren't aware of that, the natural inclination is just to line everything up. Whereas proper lighting layout, task lighting specifically, your can lights aren't going to line up like symmetrically because they're positioned over where
Right.
it's needed. And a lot of times that's just not thought of. It's more of like, well, we need 6 in here, so equal distance off the wall. And a lot of times it doesn't really,
Right.
It doesn't
Have the
translate to
effect.
what you need.
yeah, it doesn't put the light where you need it. So
Right.
Right.
there's a lot of things to consider with that if you're remodeling or building a house. Because most of your blueprints, when you get to home building, they don't have a lighting plan with actual usage in mind. It's more of 4 cans and a fan type of thing.
Right.
So that would be a good opportunity to actually get some help and figure that out.
Interesting. Okay.
What else you got about lighting?
I can tell you what some of my pet peeves.
Let's hear it.
Okay. I love pendant lighting, especially over a island, and most of the time people make their pendants too small, and that drives me out of my mind.
Okay.
Small as in what? What do you mean small?
Like the
They're just
fixture
little. The
itself?
fixture itself is too tiny. It just, you go in and you're like, you did this really nice kitchen remodel and you use like little wimpy lights. Like, go big.
Yours are huge.
Well, I mean,
It's bigger than my twice, like 2 heads.
Well,
They're-
because
yeah.
I use the proper ratios, Justin. I
But
put
listen,
thought into it.
Those pendant lights scare me. not gonna
She's
lie to you.
stressed about those for a very long time.
I wasn't very long, but it was a while.
Yeah.
But I mean, it takes a long time. I well, not this particular kitchen because I had something, had gone through the experience before. But the first time I tried to pick out pendants for a very large island, I took back I don't know how many lights because we would buy them, think, okay, this is big enough, and you hold it up and you're like, oh, that just disappears over. How long was that island? 9 feet.
Yeah.
And when you hold up what you think is plenty big, a 12-inch like pendant, it suddenly is just dwarfed by an
Right.
island. And so I forget, we ended up going, I think, 16-inch lights or 18-inch lights.
they were-
massive.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it really makes a big difference. You have to consider it. And sometimes you can't know until you actually hold it up in the space.
Gotcha.
I've used cardboard mock-ups and everything to make sure I get the ratios right, just
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that bothers me.
Well, I'll tell you one of my pet peeves is fixtures that have just a bare bulb.
Oh, yes, that's
Like,
awful.
It's not
Yeah,
like
yeah.
just a thing hanging with a light bulb, but I'm
Oh,
talking
that's
like
what I was thinking, like an Edison type.
yeah, but like a pendant light that's just open, and all you see is the clear bulb. It's clear bulbs, I guess. It really bothers me
Yeah.
because you're looking directly into the light.
Yeah, the Edison bulbs aren't as bad because they're warm and they're kind of
Yeah.
like, they're zigzag, so they kind of look.
Yeah,
you
and
know,
Yeah.
those aren't really for lighting. It's more just the
those are more.
mood.
Yeah.
mood, ambiance type of thing. But yeah,
Super cool.
seeing just a
Yeah.
clear bulb and that
It does something to your eyeballs. I
yeah,
don't like it.
It's not pleasant. So
Yeah.
I avoid those as much as possible.
But part of the way you avoid that too is making sure they're the right height. That's another pet peeve of mine with the pendants is if they're not set at the right height, all you can see is a bulb. And so if you're a shorter person that's using the island and you have a bare bulb particularly, that's going to bother you a whole lot.
Right.
Versus if you're a taller person and you set it at the right height, you can sometimes get by with a bare bulb under your pendant because you just don't see it.
Yeah. And, as humans, we know not to look directly into the sun. And to me,
That's what's wrong with Justin.
to me, having a fixture that's just a really bright source of light, it's not right.
It's not right.
But that's a pet peeve.
It's immoral, really. I don't have any pet peeves because I don't know.
Well, you thought they
I
were
just-
called Kevin too, so
Well, I just don't think about lighting.
Yeah.
It's just not something that, and I'm the design consultant.
Well-
this is a bad look, but
Well, it's a
this
good
is-
thing we work together.
Yeah.
but yeah. Well, I'm just thinking, because maybe I have mine all wrong. I don't know.
Well, it
I just
also could
put
be
in
that your
lights.
lighting is not off, and it would bother you if it were off. Sometimes you don't know it bothers you if you are in
What
a
do you mean
properly
off?
balanced lighting. If you went into a room that had the lighting that was very imbalanced, it would probably bother you.
Oh.
But if the lighting that you're used to is balanced, or the color that you prefer, or at least all the same,
Right.
because a lot of times, like if you have a lamp that has a Kelvin score of 1, and then you have an overhead fixture that's way cooler or something like that, you're going to have a blue glow and a yellow glow,
Yeah.
and that would drive someone crazy if they have
Yeah.
attention to detail, especially. But if they're already matched, you may not consider, oh, look, I walked into the living room and the lamp matches the overhead light. You're not going to
Yeah.
think about that because it just is.
Yeah. I think in my home that the only place where I even might start to consider adding lighting or switching something up would be my living room. And this, I don't know if this is my final home. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But the living room is in the middle of the house and there's no natural light at all. It's actually annoying. The only window that sort of shines into the living room is the one on the back side of the dining room table, and it shines directly on our thermostat.
Oh,
So that's always good.
make a little sunglasses for
yeah.
your thermostat.
But I just changed out the ceiling fans, and it's like a soft daylight. I don't know. Thinking about it, it's probably around 3,000. I don't know, Kelvin or something. But it's the only thing in there for the space, and there's no extra natural light. So I was thinking maybe I put 4 recessed lighting, equidistant in the corners on a dimmer switch. I
That
think
would be really nice.
I think that'd be really cool.
4 cans and a fan.
4 cans and a fan, baby.
It's not always bad. It really isn't. Sometimes it is adequate, and especially if you have a vaulted ceiling in a living room.
Yeah, not vaulted.
Well,
Yeah.
or a living room is not necessarily focused on task lighting like a kitchen would be.
Yeah.
Or a bathroom, it can really make a difference in your makeup. For those of us
The
that
task at hand.
yeah. So I mean, you look at the room itself. 4 cans and a fan is not necessarily bad if that's all you need, but it is important
Or
that
if
they
you
match.
have less, which is what I have.
or less. But what matters is if you have adequate lighting and they match, the Kelvins match, so that you're not,
Yeah.
it's all over the place.
Right.
That would be very
know.
distracting.
Yeah.
So now that this is on your radar,
Yeah.
let's talk in a week or two and see if you've noticed houses you go into or places you visit, how the
Okay.
lighting affects
For sure.
the mood.
You can
or-
practice on the display in the office. That round mirror we have with the LED lighting, you can change it from warm to cool.
Yeah, I've played with that quite a bit already.
I know you have.
Yeah, okay. That sounds good. I just had a thought, but I can't think of it. So,
Well, we
about
had to
lighting.
adjust the lighting on those displays to match. It's probably not right
we did.
anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Curious, what would you say is the most neutral color of light?
I don't
Do you
know.
have an opinion?
No,
on
I
it?
just take a little switch and I go back and forth until I find one I like.
Is it bad my bathrooms are all 45,000 plus on their Kelvin?
45,000.
Oh, sorry, 45,000. The sun is in there. 4,500, sorry. I mean, it's pretty
I-
blue.
Well,
it's
how do you
daylight.
feel about it?
I like it,
Okay.
especially.
No, actually, you need to ask your wife how she feels about it because she's the one putting on makeup in the morning, and you're probably not.
She has as many opinions as I do, which is about lighting, which is this much.
Do you know that for sure? Have you asked?
I haven't asked, but she voices her opinion.
Well,
Yeah.
has she
She's not
ever?
afraid.
Well, I know she wouldn't be afraid to say it, but if she is not aware that there is a difference, it might matter.
Yeah, it's fair because I wasn't aware,
Yeah.
and maybe there is.
I will say this: don't ever put a hot pink countertop in your bathroom.
Fair enough.
Profound.
It is. One of the houses.
Dash.
One of the houses
Yes.
we lived in before we remodeled the bathroom, which is one of the first things we did, had a hot pink bathroom counter. I don't know why. I mean, this whole house was like they had to be smoking something when they drew the plans. But when you had a light shine on it and you tried to put your makeup on with a reflection of a hot pink, like my makeup, I never knew what it was going to turn out like because like it would just like cast weird light on
Shadows.
your
Oh,
on my face,
interesting.
and then I never knew if I had the right amount on or not.
That's
I'm
pretty
looking
funny.
very
That's pretty
rosy
funny.
today, and then you go out and you look like death warmed over.
Yeah.
So
They,
Interesting situation. to have to
Yeah.
deal with.
No, we have. It's just granite, brown with black and purple speckles.
yeah, this was not granite. It was
Yeah.
pink, bright pink.
Mostly brown.
Yeah.
Well, I replaced all the light fixtures in our house, and I love them all. I think they're really cool, especially if the dining room could be bigger. It has a really cool fixture in it. Bought it off Bid FTA. Shout out. Auctioned.
We will not install those. Just
no,
FYI,
yeah,
we will
I
not
will.
install those.
Yeah.
You can for your own personal.
Yes. So I got them. The ones in the bathroom have the big, like, almost bowl that come down upside down, and then that are bare bulbed Edison bulbs, but they're daylight, and they're like 4,500 or 5,000, and it's a very clean and crisp look over the mirror. I love it because when I turn it on, and I'm like doing my hair like this. I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
just looks so good.
Yeah. Well,
I just can't believe it. And my wife is like, bam, punches me in the face.
Yeah, there was a situation where, speaking on how color temperature can impact a space, we changed out in one project just the can lights to I think it was like a 4,000, which is kind of neutral, but like a neutral white, not too cool, not too warm. And it changed the colors of the cabinets. Like you
Yes.
thought they were kind of a dingy white,
Right.
but when you put a more neutral or a bluer light source
Right.
in there, we're like, oh, they are white.
Yeah.
Right.
And they look great now.
Which is
what-
a whole nother conversation about the whites. There
Yeah.
are a million colors of white.
That's true. Yeah, I did the same thing to mine because there was a couple bulbs out, and then they were 3,000. I changed them all and fixed them to 4,000, and then painted the cabinets white. It's white
Yeah.
in there now. Yeah. So
Don't
it
use
looks really
black
good.
lights with white cabinets. That's
Yeah.
that would be a bad look.
Yeah, for sure.
Unless you're into psychedelic stuff, which, some people.
Okay. Oh, that took a turn. Wasn't sure.
That's all right.
That's all I got about
Using-
lights.
Hey, look, I have lots more. I could talk for a long time about
What
lights.
about
but
car lights?
I don't have any opinions about car lights except they should have them. You should
What
turn them
about
on.
under wheel well lighting? We should do some with the
Only-
truck.
only if you're
Come
driving.
on, let's do some with the truck. We'll put them in green and
What
watch
do
the
they call
green.
it? Rock lights? Is that what they call them?
I don't know what they call them, but they're
Michael?
sick.
Rock lights. Yeah. He
Mm.
knows.
Do you have some? We need
I'm
to install
surprised.
some on yours. Yeah, that'd be sick.
Yeah.
That'd be super cool.
Yeah, no
Um,
opinions on those. So
Oh, you can actually harness them to the music as well.
I have seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
about the same level as loud mufflers for me. I'm like, aw, you little man. That's what I
That's
think.
what you would have said about me a couple of years ago when I was in college. Because I did that to my truck. I straight piped it. Yeah, I got like 8 miles to the gallon.
Yeah.
But when I floored it, whoa! It was
I'm
sick.
sure everyone thought much higher of you. Yes.
They did not. They probably lower it for sure. And then it started breaking down, and I just sold it. So,
Okay. Well,
Sad
anyways,
story.
we're getting off track. Who cares?
but that
It's
is a good
podcast.
conversation. I think it's important that people do take some time to think about
Maybe I
the
should.
Kelvin units of their lighting and to make sure they are adequate for the space and the task and for their personal preference of what do they want to feel like early in the morning, late at night, and during the day. Like being able to swap those back and forth can be really helpful.
Interesting.
And make your home feel more inviting and relaxing as it should.
Fair enough.
Yeah, because you wouldn't necessarily go into a bar at night expecting it to be like
That
lit
would be
up like a
awkward.
Walmart,
Like a gymnasium.
Yeah.
It'd be
Like a
had
gym.
a whole different feel to it, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. So
Fair enough.
it
That's
has
fair.
it has a huge impact on
I guess you're right.
the space.
I guess you're right.
Let's wrap it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good
all
enough.
right. Perfect. Well, thank you guys for being here. Thank you for listening to another episode of New House, Same Address. We'll talk to you in the next one. Oh, and make sure to comment, subscribe. I don't know, share
Thumbs
it.
up, like.
Thumbs up. Put it on Facebook.
Tell
Good
us
luck.
your favorite Kelvin rating.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank
Send
you
it to your
guys.
grandmother.
Talk to you in the next one. Bye.